This is Sean Hennon, writer of episode 904, The Avenging Angel. You're listening to the Blacklist Exposed on Golden Spiral Media.
Well, even an old dog like Red can learn new math. Welcome to the award-winning The Blacklist Exposed podcast. Greetings, one and all. I'm Agent Troy Heinrichs.
And I'm Agent Aram Peterson. I, too, have the heart of an artist and the mind of a kid. Never mind. I shouldn't say that. Shh. Thanks for joining us yet again for number 49 on the Blacklist, The Avenging Angel. Written by Sean Hennon and directed by Andrew McCarthy. Show notes and our intel for this episode of The Blacklist Exposed can be found at theblacklistsexposed.com. Also, my favorite episode of this new season.
I would have to say, I agree. This was exactly the Blacklist of season 9 that we were hoping for. Crazy Blacklister, cool story, and a little nugget at the end to make you come back next week.
Felt like home.
It felt like home, for sure. A home without Agnes. Surprisingly, how much better it was.
They really didn't have old Agnes popping up anytime. I mean, they had a whole lot of Charlene and Cooper time, but I didn't see Agnes there. She must sleep a lot.
I thought it was funny, though, that we did mention Charlene last week, and it was like, where is Charlene? Does she stay in a separate house? Is she just hiding upstairs? Like, where is she? And then, boom, hey, there's Charlene. Look at that.
Yep. Had no inside baseball on that either. I'm just letting you know.
Nope.
So
nope.
That's
we're prophets.
Just luck. That works out good. Well, I want to talk about this one because I'm kind of curious about who you think it is.
I know.
I've got thoughts.
This gets Aaron like turned on a little bit, a little whodunit action.
A little bit, yeah, a little mystery, little Knives Out. If we could have somebody wearing that bitchin' sweater from that movie, that would be great.
That would be fun. But before we get there, we got to cover off on a few things. Our profiling question from last week. Did Aram make the right choice staying with the FBI?
And 95% of you agree that Aram made the right choice to come back to the FBI. Amy Young added this extra thought. Would have liked to see him do both, but like other companies, if he works on his software while working for the FBI, they could consider their intellectual property. I get it. Good point. But 95% of you are wrong. He should have gotten filthy, filthy rich.
I mean, I always wonder like how these buyouts actually work. Like, do you buy out just what you put in? Do you actually get a little bit of the profit? Like, I would have made a deal where it was something like I get, buy me out and I get 1% of all revenues or something, just so you have like that drip income.
I think if I built the software, my buyout better be huge potential stock options down the road.
Exactly. Yeah.
And a percentage of future profits. Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% right. I would have had a buyout that made sure that I was comfortable while I was hanging out at the FBI.
Agree. But it's good to have him back because he's doing all the fun look up computer stuff that we know him for, and he's in the field at the same time. So,
and he's being very caring for Cooper. He can sense something's wrong.
I'm wondering if he's like sensing or if he's actually knows more than he's leading on. I think that's part of the whodunit that would be interesting to unravel.
Oh, really? Aram did it?
Not Aram did it, but Aram might know some things, right? He's the one that's the courier. He's like, hey, I got this envelope for you. Hey, I got this envelope for you. You tell me he didn't look at that envelope? Come on.
I don't know. Maybe.
I'd be looking at that envelope.
Then you shouldn't be working for the FBI. Jesus, man. So if something is confidential, it's confidential. You don't open it.
There's a difference. There's a reason why.
There's no difference. Confidential.
There's a reason why kings and queens of old used a wax seal on that envelope, because when you break the seal, you know it's open. When it's just a little ropey thing that goes around the circle from the office envelope, you can just tie that back up. No one knows the difference.
I still know the difference. We've had this conversation about the line. You don't believe omitting his line. Now you don't believe looking through someone's things is actually looking through someone's things. I'm convinced you're probably a criminal, or at least you want to be. You wish you could be. You're like Danny Ocean. Question for this week. Who killed, is it Acosta? Is that his name? Was that his name?
That's what I heard.
I didn't sleep with him, so I can't recall, but I'm pretty sure it was Acosta.
Oh, that was a good one. Touche for you. I love it.
There you go. Who killed him? Who killed him?
Who killed Charlene's neighbor friend? We'll just call it that.
Neighbor
lover.
Quotes.
All right. Now, before we miss our meeting with the Joint Chiefs, let's get into this week's case profile.
All right. We open with a rich douche getting gassed after bragging about a court case. You know he's a douche because he's sitting there with his robe open and he's pouring liquor. That's a rich douche right there. I mean, everything about this scene and this guy just screams rich douche. Do we agree on this part?
100%. Like, go fly off a balcony, please.
Exactly. Yeah, I was totally okay with this. I'm like, I don't really see why this is a blacklister. I don't get it. Okay. So rich and powerful who play with others' lives just because you can. That's the pitch that we're getting at the beginning. And then they tell this rich douche to read this or we're going to kill you. And then you have a date with gravity, I'm afraid. And then suicides his ass. I like that line, by the way. You have a date with gravity. And then just pitching his ass off the balcony was pretty fantastic. What did you think about the opening? And the opening, she is the Avenging Angel.
Yeah, I dig the cold open. I thought it was kind of cold open classics of old. The screw on the floor, the little gas bomb inside the vent. Because I thought like, when the phone rang, I thought it was his phone again, not the phone that was actually on the timer inside the thing. So I thought that was kind of cool. And then all of a sudden the gas mask standing over him and you're just like, oh man, is this like a stew maker reincarnate kind of thing? Because that would have been cool if they would have just dissolved his body in a bathtub. But then she comes in and then talks about like everything that's going on. And I thought it was really cool to see that it's a female Blacklister again. I really like it when it's a female Blacklister doing twisted things.
I liked who it was. I used to have a big crush on her. She is Michael, also Michaela, really, who's played by Annabella Sciorra. And if you watch The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, then you know exactly who she is. Plus, she's in a lot of movies a long time ago. And she's been popping up in little roles for the last couple of years, especially. She was just in Truth Be Told. She was really impressive as the kind of alcoholic mom in that show. And she's got a history of her own in Hollywood. I'm glad to see she's really back out there again after some of the things she's been through. She steals what is stolen, rights wrongs through murders, extortions, random acts of violence. And I love this angle. It reminds me a little bit of one of my favorite shows of all time that no one in the world has seen. I'm going to mention it here. I've mentioned it once or twice. Vengeance Unlimited. I love that show. It reminds me of that show because this was about a Michael Madsen, great creepy guy. He was a rich guy who went around basically people that had gotten away with things. He frames them. He sets them up. He ruins their lives, the people that got away with things. So she reminds me a lot of Mr. Chappell from Vengeance Unlimited. And if you've never seen that show, you can find kind of okay versions on YouTube.
Okay, it's not streaming anywhere.
No, it's not streaming anywhere. I don't know why. It's a Warner Brothers show. So why isn't it on HBO Max? Damn it.
I don't know. We'll petition the crew later. I had a question for you on the dump off the balcony suicide attempt. A production
attempt.
Note. Yeah,
it looked pretty successful.
A production note for you. Did you?
That was his name. Splat.
Splat. Did you like the fact that when the camera cuts on that scene, that it doesn't actually show him go over the balcony and they kind of fade away because it's television? Or would you have rather seen him actually go over the balcony and green screen to the bottom? Like, did you like the choice on the direction there?
Yeah. Totally fine. I don't have a problem with that at all. I think it was well done, as usual. I think Andrew McCarthy is one of the best directors they have on the show.
I was just curious. Because most of the time you'd actually see him go over the balcony, right? They go over the balcony, but you don't actually see him fall. But then you didn't even see him go over the balcony this time. I was just curious what you thought.
Let me ask you a question. Was there any part of you that didn't think he went over the balcony?
I mean, this is the Blacklist, right? So all the crazy people would be like, oh my gosh, like he fought and got away. He might show up again later on somewhere down the road. I think on the Blacklist, you got to be specific.
I don't. I think it was I like alluding to it. I don't always need to see it as long as I do understand what you're saying though. I mean, there's a good point. If this is a character we had seen before, I would need to see it. This is a guy who's just there for the opening. He's a rich douche. No, I don't care. He's not pertinent to the show.
Except that he is, because it drives the whole case story forward.
No, I think you're just picking. Picking. That's what I think. Just picking. We should mention, though, Andrew McCarthy, for fun fact, I'm sure everybody knows, but he is the Andrew McCarthy from, the 80s Brat Pack and whatnot. And his book, which is called Brat, an 80s Story, has produced or will be producing a documentary adaptation directed by Andrew McCarthy. So he's going to direct a movie based on his book about his life in the Brat back.
Oh, that's fun.
So
that's cool.
Yeah, that's very fun. Very fun.
Look forward to that.
Good deal. I hope he mentions he's my favorite guest star on Monk. Monk is one of my favorite, fun shows to watch when I'm just killing time. And he's my favorite guest star. Fun little Andrew McCarthy fact. All right. So Michaela Bellucci, I think was what her name was kept as a prisoner and forced to give up her baby for adoption. So she has a mission to right the wrongs because of all the wrongs that were done to her, is what it sounds like. And our centerpiece for this episode are these three people that she's got. And one of them is Mr. Conrad. He's an asswipe. Huntley is the one who gets wiped. I love this description. And Green is the refuge. He's the trash. They stole something from Mr. Green, and she wants to give Green Huntley's heart because they basically stole Green's transplant and gave it to Huntley. And apparently, Derek Huntley offered to pay for an entire pediatric wing to get that heart. So bribes basically bumped Green. He was going to die over the loss of this heart. And then they try to make the argument that that's the way the world works. And she replies, I know. That's why I'm so busy. My favorite line of the whole episode, by the way. What did you think of the overall arc here? And especially the conclusion or do you want to, we'll wait on the conclusion until we get to Red, but what did you think of the whole arc?
I love the Blacklister, to be honest. I love the line, that's the way the world works. I know that's why I'm so busy, because the whole concept of this was that people were posting their grievances, their deepest regrets, fears, whatever, on an internet forum. And then based on that, that's how things were actually getting accomplished by the Avenging Angel. And I love that because that's exactly what people do all the time. Reddit is just full of people complaining about stuff. And I if someone could go out there and actually clean up the world a little bit so we don't have to deal with all this stuff, I'm kind of behind it, actually.
It's sad.
Maybe,
but I get it.
Maybe things will be a little bit happier and a little bit shinier. I don't know.
I thought it was great. It was a really intriguing Blacklister. I mean, not the best name for one, but I don't know really what else you would call her, so it works. She is great as the Black. I really enjoyed her role, and I kind of really was bummed at how it ended up, honestly, because I would have liked to have seen her back.
Yeah, I like the name. I liked her portrayal of the character. I like the writing of the character. Everything about the Blacklister just felt very season one. I was enthralled the entire time.
It was a very good episode.
Love the monologues.
Easily my favorite. It's probably my favorite Blacklister one, because the last couple episodes of last season weren't really about the Blacklister. Probably my favorite Blacklister one in some time.
Yeah, I would probably agree.
Straight to the point. Little bit of mythology going on, little mystery going on, but it's not too crazy. No Agnes. Worked out good. Yeah,
no, I really, really, really enjoyed this character. I am kind of sad she's gone. I am.
Me too.
I think it would be fun to watch her a multi-episode like this and a conclusion kind of thing, just to see what else she would have done.
I think she could have been a great multi-episode arc for sure.
She had just the creative ways of taking care of things too. I think that's fun too.
Well, and it's a mission we can get behind. Those are always the tricky ones because it's wow, do I really want her to get caught? Not really. Because, I mean, you do because that's wrong, but you don't because is it really wrong? I mean, I get where she's coming from.
Yeah. You and I talk about this all the time, that the best villains are the people that actually believe that what they're doing is the right thing.
Yeah. And if we can believe it too, that makes it even more complicated.
For sure.
So that's one I'm going to miss for sure. All right, let's get into characters and we'll come back to how her arc concluded when we get to Red, because I don't necessarily like it. All right, let's go to, not in a way that we're I didn't like the show. I didn't from a personal introspective reasoning, but we'll go to characters. We're going to start with music. We actually have some this week.
We actually do. During the cold open, even we had You in Great Danger, a great collaboration between Dakota Arterberry, Brian Brickbeck, and Trevor Llewellyn. Later in the show, when Red actually steals the painting from Alexi, we hear Yacht Rock by Dash Cat playing in the background during the party. And you can get both those songs over on the playlist, both on Apple and Spotify, from our website. Links are there at theblacklistexposed.com.
All right, we're moving on to Cooper. We're going to start with Cooper right off the bat because this is how our episode really opened with the characters. My God, what an opening. No backstory. We don't know what happened. We still don't know really what happened to lead up to this point, other than it was a Jim Ritter's retirement party or something like that. So he's at a retirement party. We know that. We didn't see that. And he woke up in a parking garage after the retirement party. And he has no idea how he got there. No idea. Then we come to find out Charlene's former fling, her friend / fling, neighbor, Acosta, I hope is the name, is dead. Dead. D-E-A-D. And Cooper happens to be missing one bullet. Then he does some ballistics. The service weapon is a match. It's a match. It's definitely a bullet from his gun that killed this man who banged his wife. And now I'm rhyming and I'm making a song. And do you think he did it? I don't think it's possible he did it, but I do think it's possible Charlene did. What say you, Troy Heinrichs?
Well, I think the Charlene is like the jump, right? It's the easy pick. And we know none of this stuff is actually easy for all the true crime and shows that we've been watching. I know what you did last summer. Aaron's been wrong about a couple hundred times already on that show.
I'm normally not wrong on whodunits, so that one was just badly written.
And it's still
and it had twins. Twins always mess me up.
It's still going on too. That's the sad part. Gosh, the interesting thing about this story is the way that it was presented out of the gate, because it doesn't give you enough information to actually make a plausible thought. Because the only people Cooper would have crossed in recent memory would have been like the senator that he was going to take the job for. There could have been 100 people that can frame him. And it's funny, it could have just been Cooper. Like maybe he truly like blacked out and he was just a fit of rage or something came up that reminded him of something and he just went and took care of business. And
took care of business?
Yeah.
I don't believe so. I don't think that's it. I do admire that we ended the episode with him at the police station, so he's obviously considering turning himself in because he's a good man. Good on him.
Yep, that fits the character.
Yeah, fits the character. But you've got his wife's ex, whatever he was, and he's dead. You got Cooper in a parking garage. You got her, I don't know, playing a little too coy for my liking. A little too coy. A little too uninvolved with this whole thing. I'm leaning Charlene. I mean, obviously we don't have enough pieces to really make a firm dissection of who done it, but that's my initial gut reaction.
And I think the question
I definitely know it's not Cooper. I 100% don't believe for a second it's Cooper because he blacked out. He's in a parking garage. He's a bullet short. All these things that he doesn't remember anything. Come on.
But I mean, there's been things where you have like post-trauma, military, triggering events that when you trigger, you could black out. I mean, there've been numerous TV stories that have actually gone that angle.
Sure. Doesn't mean I buy it.
Revenge with Emily Van Camp was the most recent one I can think of, where there was a whole like 6-episode arc where she was like bipolar, I guess, and she didn't know what the other half of her was doing because she was triggered by something.
Yeah, that's a little extreme psychology, but if you buy it, that's cool. For it to come out like that,
it's TV.
Sure, it can happen. You can black out trauma. That's possible. It's more likely that he was dosed at that party by someone, not necessarily Charlene. It's just the only character we've met that has any involvement with him. So that's my first leaning. But it's a very good possibility. Somebody dosed him at the party and is setting him up for a reason that we don't know yet.
Yeah, I think that's the bigger story would be there's something that they want Cooper to be removed from whatever office he holds or power or money grab or something. And so they're going to dig into his past. And based on that, they're going to frame him for something that is going to basically get him ousted. That would be
exactly
the plan that would be the most logical.
Exactly.
But yeah, I do like the conversation with Charlene. He wasn't like super like angry about it. I mean, it's been like 4 years since the whole neighbor incident happened. So yeah, he wasn't like really mad that she brought him up. And then of course he turns himself in, but looks like he's going to turn himself in at the end of the episode, which is exactly what Cooper would do.
Yep. And we have what we were talking about last week, something to carry us to the next episode. So I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Doesn't have to be a season long or 10 season long mythology.
Sure.
Just something that says, hey, come back next week. You might want to see how this plays out.
Might want to see where we go. It's nice that we got that vibe, that old Blacklist vibe. It's still pretty much a standalone episode. And we got some fun little bits. We got some good jokes. We got some drama. All around good episode. And I like this mystery with Cooper, but I think we all know he didn't do anything. My opinion. Agreed. He's Cooper. Okay, now let's move on to Ressler. Oh, the drug test issues are still there. So he packs his bags, sends Park on a guilt trip, and she allows him to take a cup of her urine to the drug test sample, which I don't understand because he had to basically use a catheter. So how does that work? Or is that just like he just took it off his pee-pee and poured the urine in it?
No, it happened exactly the way it looked like on TV, which was way more information than I needed to know on my Thursday night television viewing.
Where you had to picture Ressler's pee-pee?
Well, I had a picture of the pee-pee, I had a picture of the catheter being inserted into the pee-pee, and then the urine being poured into his body and mixing with his own urine. I was like, no, this is just too much information, Sean Hennon. Too much information.
I was getting a little awkward. I'm like, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are pretty happy about those thoughts. I'm not one of them. I just don't need it.
I'm just like, the medical conditions, the UTI, there's like all kinds of things that are bad about all this.
All I thought was, ow. That was my initial thought. And then I'm like, I don't really want to picture Ressler there. I don't want to picture anybody there. Really. Not even myself. Nobody. Nah.
Also, I don't understand how this works because can't you like tell like gender? Like would the tox screen come back and be like, hey, this is like a female urine versus a male urine?
I'm pretty sure you can. I'm pretty sure based on hormonal imbalance. And I'm pretty sure that would be something that would trigger him. My initial thought before anything happened, as soon as she said she was going to give urine, my wife screamed out, well, she's going to be pregnant. And I'm like, well, I think that you can tell. I mean, you can tell that from a urine test. So I don't think it'll be pregnancy. But a hormonal imbalance means that maybe it's an early pregnancy, but dear God, I don't want any more pregnancies going on. I'd rather it was tumors.
I mean, that would
sound sad.
It's a good guess by your wife, right? Because the Peter story and the Peter issues and
sure, that's exactly why she's just assuming that, and that was long before. As soon as she said she was going to give her the urine, she's like, "Well, it's going to come out pregnant." I'm like, "Well, easy, TV watcher. Let's see how it plays out." But it leads. We're going to segue right to Park. It leads to her finding out. Well, it leads to two things. One, it leads to Park going against her own judgment and just doing this for Ressler, which I don't know if she should have done. Well, do you think she should have done this?
I mean, I think Park understands that she's had some missteps in her life and people have looked out for her with her career. So this is a way for her to maybe kind of resolve some of that issue in herself. I think she also has the druggy mom from her past and she totally understands and gets it and everybody deserves a second chance. So yeah, I think Park doing this, I think was an okay thing. It's her partner. She doesn't want to work with anybody else. She wants to work with her partner, and this is her partner right now.
Okay, fair enough. Well, it finds out through this that she has abnormal hormonal levels, maybe tumors, so she has something going on. So we have more. Not only just do we have the Cooper thing, we have the what's going on with Park thing. Do you like this angle, or is this one of those where you would rather it was a little deeper, a little something different?
I mean,
or is it too early to tell?
From a TV perspective, you kind of need something to drive the story forward. The cancer play is kind of like old TV hat. So from that perspective, I don't love it. At the same time, I do like that there is something that is going to drive Park's character forward because she hasn't really done anything other than been the FBI agent, right? Just doing the things that Cooper tells her to do. So this gives Park a little bit of a deeper story in the show. And from that perspective, I kind of like it because we do have Peter hanging in the wings, and I'm sure that'll play into it. Peter's going to show up at some point in the show, I would think, to talk about this cancer issue and how that's going to affect her. And it's probably also going to be something that Red's going to have a magical doctor that can cure cancer, and then Park will be in Red's debt. That's kind of the MO of the show. So from all that perspective, I think I like it, but just that it's cancer is weird because that's typical TV trope.
Well, we don't really know yet.
Right.
We don't know yet.
Speculations.
We'll see what happens. Yep. We'll see what happens. Dembe approaches Red, and that was an interesting conversation where he shows up to Red's humble abode, and they talk about whatever happened between them in the past. And, Red, of course, alludes to this is uncomfortable. So what did you think about this whole scene? Because I really dug the uncomfortableness. I, enjoyed the conversation that Red has. It just felt like a real Red and Dembe conversation for a bit.
Yeah, this is the most interesting and draw, I think, for season 9 is the relationship between these two people and how
it really got fractured.
Yeah, how it got fractured, why it got fractured. Specifically, they're talking about Brasilia. I don't know if that Brasilia was the thing that fractured it or if that was a case from back in the past, but just the weirdness and awkwardness and when Red's like, what the hell happened to us? I thought that was a really great line because it shows that they had a falling out. It's not just that, Red went away for 2 years and wanted to be in silence. It's that they actually had some shit that went down basically. And because of that, that's why this fracture existed and why Dembe joined up with the FBI. So I'm excited to see how that unravels, and hopefully that's not the new 8-year mission. Is what happened between Dembe and Red? Because I don't need that going on for 8 years. But I'd like it resolved by the end of the season.
Yeah, I don't need it right now, but I would like to know what happened. I mean, I can get the gist of it. Liz died. Red kind of caused that. People still get mad when you say that, but it's true. So it's kind of his fault. So we'll see what happens. But I'm anxious to see what the real reasons are. Aram finds out that Avenging Angel is using message boards to find her target. He's the one that figures that out. He's also using Bluetooth to find her. I enjoyed that. Knows something's wrong with Cooper. Makes repeated pleas to help. So really, he's the tech guy, like he always is. And he's also the empathetic dude this week. Yeah. Which I really dug that. So it was nice to see Aram back. Yeah, in many respects,
caring for his people, caring for the people that are being impacted by the Blacklister, doing the things he does best. This is a Aram classic of season 1, season 2, and it's good to see it.
Hey, Weecha got another ass kicking scene with no words. What do you think about this character? I mean, doesn't really say much, but beats a lot of ass.
Was she ass kicking or was she face punching?
Okay, now you're just being Now you're just being annoying.
Just say. But what a great line though. It's like, hey, did you check everything? Well, yeah. Like, did you check her hands? I was like, that was the best line. That was so awesome.
Yeah. Whack. I think you delivered it wrong. It was like basically somebody repeating a joke, but yeah, you get the gist.
Yeah.
You didn't get everything.
But I love the character, and I love how badass they're making her out to be because
just hanging out in the background, just surveying everything. I mean, obviously, there's going to be more to her in the future, I'm sure. But I like how they're just kind of building her up through actions right now.
I also love when she stands in the background. She's kind of replacing two things for me in the show. She's replacing the quiet, solemn Dembe standing in the corner, not saying anything. But she's also replacing like the Liz facial expressions. Because if you notice, they always cut to her, and she's got some like head tilt or eyebrow raise or smirk on her face when certain conversations happening. And I find that touch is just, it makes her character super interesting, especially when they're doing the through the windshield, coming back at Red, talking on the phone or talking to somebody in the back seat. And then she's got the AirPod in and she just has like these little facial expressions that happen as conversations happening. Keep an eye out for those.
Something fun to look for. Well, Red, his hair is almost back in top form, by the way. So
all of Red was in top form.
Stubble. We got that stubble going. It's good stuff.
Yeah, he lost the white jacket because it's after Labor Day. So
thank God. He's dressing like Red. He's got hats. I mean, it's good.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently in this episode, Oleg is a $19 million client, and
per
Red
year.
needs something per year.
Right. An annuum. Yeah, that's not just 1 year. It's like compound money coming in.
Understood. I got it. And Red needs something out of his penthouse. So he thinks he's breaking in, but actually he runs into his son, Alexei, who's having a pate. And then he has to basically manipulate him to get a crappy painting for $1 million. But inside the painting is Van Gogh's The Painter on the Road to Tarascon. And he uses that as bait for the Avenging Angel, but also gives it back to, was it a Holocaust survivor?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's a descendant of Van Gogh or something, or like the original owner was a descendant of a descendant, because that's why she's so, old at this point. 96, I believe she was.
Yeah, 95, 96. I think it was 96. And also the singer of a death metal band, which was a great touch that it worked somehow. I dug it.
I mean, kind of a depressing song, but totally understand where she's coming from.
I would like you to tell me a death metal song that sounds fun. Exactly.
I don't listen to death metal, so I can't tell you one.
Well, if you did, you would know. That's how basically think dogs barking in unison and loud. That's what a lot of it is. I'm not knocking any of it.
Well, that much I picked up on. So the fact that I was actually able to understand the words in this case was like, oh, okay. She's like more doing heavy metal poetry.
Yeah, because it's usually like, that's what I'm saying. It sounds like dogs barking. Woof, 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 woof. See? Same thing. Only with music, quote unquote, in the background.
If anybody's looking for the new voiceover talent for an upcoming dog movie.
You got it. I will get you. Every death metal song I ever heard sounds just like that. All right. There's some good lines in here. The constant ringing, I feel like Quasimodo. That took me a second, and I appreciate a line that makes me think. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, the bells.
I heard it, and I backed it up because I was like, did I just catch what I thought I caught? And I was
that's funny.
That
was funny.
I'm following now.
That was so funny. I love a joke that takes a minute to sink in.
Kudos, Sean. Kudos.
Yeah, it's very good. Red meets the angel. I think you're forgetting something. Her hands. That's the line that led to that point. But you had the most important thing taken from you, and now he wants to restore order. So he's basically saying he understands where she's coming from. The most important thing to her child, get the connection by now? Jesus. but the most important thing taken from her, and he understands, but now he needs to restore order. And then Red goes into this monologue that basically kind of defends the wealthy, in my opinion. What do you think about this? Well, two things. I think it's a pretty, once again, another established connection between the fact that Red lost Liz, his child, and also that he relates, but he's doing things differently than he did before. So we're getting that vibe that he's not going to repeat the same mistakes. Is that what you got here?
I think so. I think he's doing everything he can to not go down the same path that he went down before, because he's learned from his past, and because that he's going to do things differently this time around. And honestly, I was actually kind of didn't even pick up on that the first time I watched it. And it just kind of literally went, because we just said, as we started this season, Red is just Red going forward. Mm-hmm. But on the second watch, I was like, oh snap. There it was. And I totally missed it the first time, that there was the linkage between, understanding the plight and understanding what's important, which was the child at the end of the day. But
yeah, I didn't miss it at all.
I think Red also has
pretty on the nose,
pretty good appreciation, right, for this Blacklister. He's almost like, I kind of wish I would have done this myself.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Basically, at this point, it seems that Red is still going to be Red. I mean, he's still going to do Red things, but he's not just going to let things slide because of his empathy anymore. And he's going to make sure that the plight of his lost soul is honored.
Yeah, he's not going to let stuff slide under the carpet anymore. He's going to be the badass MFer that everybody wants him to be.
And he is. And he does. He kills her. Now, this part made me sad because I like Annabella Sciorra and I wanted to see her again in something down the road. I wanted to see her pop back up. I thought this was a great character. It could have really been used as an arc over the course of, went until the winter finale or whatever. But fate says no. And he takes her heart and gives it to Green. What do you think about this? Because I don't know if that is a fair solution, but it also speaks, it's more of we want to hammer it right on the head that he is not the same Red you remember from the past. He has changed to some degree. Was it too strong of a message there, or did it fit for you?
I think it's similar to how he maybe was portrayed back in early season 1, early season 2 stuff, to be quite honest. The whole...
I think he would have let her go in the past. Before Liz and her dying, I think he lets her go because he understands everything she's doing. Because she wasn't punishing really the downtrodden. She was really trying to make it even, make it right, make people that got away with things pay. And of course, but now I think through the loss of Liz and, he can see that, there was some good Huntley did, even if he's not a good person. Like, it led to some good.
I can see that angle. On the other side of the coin, I also see that Red is always doing what's best for Red, which is also very much his MO through the entire show. And
sure, he's getting on the gain here.
Well, he's got his business associate that he just picked up because that guy was still alive.
Oh, yeah.
So there was something for him to gain out of this arrangement. So I think that because there was something to gain, it negates she might be doing, God's work, if you will, avenging the wrongs of the world. And he could get behind that. But at the same time, profit is profit. And if you're a criminal that needs money, you're going to do exactly what you need to do, which is get in with business with people that are cutthroat like he is. So I think it's a catch-22 scenario. I don't think you can judge and say that this is a new Red because he's not allowing her to get away with it. I think the bigger question in this is like,
fair enough. That's true.
If you get asked the question, what's your blood type? You lie.
Yeah. I would have totally said something else. Been like, oh no, it's AB negative, man. It's rare.
He's going to tie you to a chair and blood test you anyway. So don't make it easy for him.
Yep. I couldn't believe that. I'm just like, did you just answer the same thing you just said the other guy? Like, duh. That's a bad answer. I would totally have lied.
Especially with the gun pointed at your head at that point.
And there's a good chance he's going to just shoot you anyway and be like, I think you're lying. We'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
Just drain that heart out, blow it, do that, get the blood out of there, then you can just put it in. I'm sure that's fine.
Sure. I don't think that's how that works.
I'm pretty sure it is.
I don't think that's how any of this works.
That's just blow into, boom, blow the blood out. You're all good. I love the line, we all have the devil in us, but the best of us have angels too. Oh, that sounds like Liz line.
It does. And I think that's true. I think there's parts of us as we go through humanity that, have pretty dark thoughts. It's just a matter of whether or not we actually act upon them. There was actually a really great movie. I think you can actually see it now on AMC Plus, which is No Man of God. And it's a story about Ted Bundy and the FBI agent that basically befriends him in prison before his untimely demise, if you will.
That was a good movie.
And the whole movie is basically about the FBI agent thinks the same way Ted Bundy thinks, but the difference is Ted Bundy actually acted upon it, where the FBI agent Bill, he didn't act on it. So I think it's a very interesting study of humanity of like, even the best people in the world, when pushed too far, can become the biggest assholes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a real interesting line that he throws here because we all have some kind of bad in us. It's just the way the world works.
You had one more line that you were really happy with.
Oh, there was the question, the Holocaust survivor, and they're looking at the painting. She turns to Red and goes, "Who are you?" And then James just does this James thing where he just kind of laughs and he's like, "That's a longer story, which I'll tell you after this." And then of course never does because he has to run out because of the phone call.
Yep, I like that.
Like little break the fourth wall there with the audience a little bit. I thought that was kind of funny.
So all in all, still a favorite. I mean, it's 24 episodes in, but I will say we've got a lot of story in this episode, and I was actually really, really happy with the episode, and it made me feel like it was Blacklist again.
Yeah.
Where I think it's been kind of teetering up until now. There's good, there's bad, there's Agnes, and and now I feel like I feel mean doing that, but I feel like we have the episode that said, you know what, they can get back on the same plan, the same feeling, the same gut feeling you've had with the show in the past.
Yeah. Great cold open, great Blacklister motive. The Blacklister still ties into Red's overall MO about protecting daughters, and the great task force movement all around. The characters are in line with the way the
moving past the drug testing. Wrestlers moving past the drug thing.
So we resolve that. Like we always say, we always resolve things quickly. So the drug test thing is resolved quickly and a new thing comes out of it. Yeah. Everything here is exactly classic Blacklist. And if this is the way the rest of the season goes, then I think it's going to be a great season.
Whoop, whoop. And once again, no mention of Liz.
Because she's dead and gone and buried in the ground.
But references again. that was very much a reference to Liz. So
yeah,
that he made with her. So that was interesting. All right. I want to take a quick second to say thank you to those of you that are supporting the show by going to Patreon. That's Patreon, patreon.com/theblacklistgsm. Special big thanks to our honorary Blacklister, Patricia. Also special shout out to our task force members, Judy, Matt, Karen, Marilyn, Ryan, Cindy, James, Jens, Justin, Ari, and Johnny, all official task force members. All these people receive very cool gifts from us, and you can get a cool gift as well for donating at the $20 level or higher. If you want a cool t-shirt or a coffee mug, you do. All you got to do is sign up right there, and you don't have to stay at that level for long, just a few months to get the cool gifts.
And of course, our changes this year to our $5 level moving forward. The $5 patrons will get early access to the podcast before anyone else. We'll try to get it out right as the show ends, but not always possible with the new Thursday move. But you'll still get it before everybody else will. Regular listeners will have access a few days later on Saturday. So if you want to be in the know, consider throwing $5 in the hat over at Patreon, patreon.com/theblacklistgsm. Click the $sign in your podcast app even. It's an easy way to throw money in the hat as well. And we'll have more show coming up for you right after this.
You go through there, it's 1960.
Stephen King's time travel thriller, 11/22/63, is coming to Hulu. And Golden Spiral Media will journey down the rabbit hole with 11/22/63, A Look Back. Join Wayne Henderson and Troy Heinrichs as they journey through the obdurate past. Life turns on a dime. So join us at 11/22/63podcast.com.
Okay, Special Agent Intel. Forla, these are your thoughts from you guys, typically over the past episode or last episode. Forla commented on our I believe our last podcast.
Yeah.
Okay. I give you an unsolicited advice. Do not get caught up in the negative aura in which a large slice of the Blacklist fan base loves to bask. I believe that the weapon of irony with which the writers have restarted this strange season is working. But you have to stop getting lost in details like FBI agent Dembe, Agnes too tall for her age just because you didn't know me at 9. It's not too tall. She looks like she's 47 years old. Anyway, I
also love that you just said 47. That's an Alias reference.
Giddy up. We are only at the 3rd episode of 22. This is referring to the last episode. And we are already discussing it as if we were at the end of the season. All in good time. And anyway, Troy pronounced Supreme Priors very well. Bravo. It's easier for Spader, who has some relatives in Italy and has spent many holidays in Tuscany since he was a child.
Aaron apparently doesn't know how to say it, so.
Sure don't. And I said it like that on purpose, and I'm going to keep saying it. Supreme Priors. You like it? Priors? No. Priors.
The SPK. Judy Miller.
And I just want to say real quick, no, it's literally a podcast. We're supposed to get lost in strange details like FBI agent Dembe. There you go. That's what I got to say about it.
For sure. Judy Miller said, I hate to bring this up because I really dislike discussing Red Arena, but I picked up on the podcast that you guys seem to think all viewers saw Red Arena in the ending of season 8. I have to tell you, I know a lot of people who watch the show but are not on social media or connected to the fandom, or who sadly do not listen to your podcast. And
Those sons of bitches.
It's some on Twitter who are not that deep into the fandom discussions. Almost all of these unconnected viewers I have interacted with are totally unaware of the possibility that Red would be Katarina. Be careful about believing that your echo chamber represents the whole audience, not that this is not a comment about whether Red Arena is true or not. My point is, do not assume most viewers are even aware of the theory. When I've asked people how they have interpreted the end of season 8, they just view the ending to be Liz seeing her life flash before her eyes in a very beautiful way. I do wonder what the percent of viewers is who got those hints, but there's no way to know. Definitely, I think.
I know a lot of people that have never listened to this podcast that I talk to that are still Blacklist fans. And I don't talk about the theory to anyone because
you don't want to seem crazy and don't want to be put in a straitjacket.
It's not so much. It's just, I just have a thing where I don't really like to talk about my podcast outside of, because people, then you become those people you see like on Saturday Night Live skits like, oh, everything's about your podcast. I don't want to be that guy. So I just basically I talk about the show. That's what they want to talk about. And I've got a lot of friends that watch it. They've never listened to the podcast because they just don't care that much. They just watch it as something fun to watch. And they, all but one of them, and I know at least 7 people from work, 7 or 8 people, because I thought about this, 7 or 8 people from work, and all but one of them thought Red Arena, thought it was Katarina. I actually don't like Red Arena, but that is the name. But they thought Red is Katarina from the ending, very much because if you pay attention, we've already had that discussion, go back. But yeah, no, I'm not blind. A lot of people don't think that. And a lot of people don't want to think that. There's also that contingent where I just refuse to see that, and it's wrong, and it's this, and it's that. And hey, do what you want. It's not, I don't think that we're approaching it as everyone believes that. I think we're approaching it as we've seen that. So see what you want. I'm not telling you what to think, but I'm telling you what I saw. And until you show me something that's completely different and makes me disagree with what I saw, which is going to be pretty hard, honestly, at this point. It's not that I'm not open to it. I'm very open because I was against the whole Katarina is Red concept and I came on board. So I'm open-minded. It's just, I saw what I saw.
Yeah. I think the big thing is that we had to put that to bed, in that first episode back to say like, hey, we're not going to go into on this podcast. The two of us can't in good faith discuss who is Red theories any longer when we both are very much in 100% locked in state of who Red is. That would be a disservice to you all as you listen to the podcast. So we're just said, hey, you know what? We're not talking about who is Red anymore as a theory on this podcast. We're talking about new stuff. And because that Red is just Red going forward. I think that's more what we were trying to get at is we feel like it was answered. We feel like we can't speculate because there's nothing to speculate about. And it would be a disservice to the people listening to the show.
And there's nothing added to make you talk about or think anything else right now. And they're actually alluding to that it being actual.
Yeah.
Accurate.
The only reason Agnes is back in the show is because maybe someone's grandparent wants to see their grandkid.
Yeah. Avenging Angel. Totally got that. I mean, there's a connection there. So there's still the connections and whatnot. But you think what you want. Look, there's been fights about who Red is and what this is and da-da-da-da forever. That's not changing. I just don't feel like having the same arguments when there's nothing there to argue about right now. So if they happen to throw something in, or maybe they completely retcon whatever they've shown based on what I saw, that's the case. And based on the people I've talked to, so you obviously talk to different people, and yes, there are definitely people that are not on board with that. I would say that a lot of times, if you are against it, it sounds like you're kind of against it. You might be friends with people that are also against it. So, that's just natural.
Yeah.
But I do talk to people because a lot of people at my work watch Blacklist, and so they always have to mention it because they know I have a podcast, even though they've never listened to it, which would be really nice if they really want to be respectful. And I don't ever discuss the theory. And they asked me, is that who it is? Because it was actually pretty surprising at the end of last season.
Yeah. And anybody I've run into that's now picked up the show recently, and my next door neighbor is actually watching the show, and he'll come out and he'll be like, yeah, so I'm on this episode and I think it's da-da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, oh, you're close. You're on the right track. Keep watching. Because I don't want to cloud any of their judgments on how they experience the show. Because I think if you were not a podcast listener or not a Reddit person or not a social media person getting into all of the weeds and the puzzle and putting it all together, if you were just a casual fan experiencing the show and you were able to see the connection points and see the revelation at the end of 8, I think your experience is much more like, oh my gosh, how did I not see that? And you don't want to take that away from somebody. I think that's just wrong because that's what art is supposed to do. Art's supposed to give you that kind of wide-eyed moment of just awe and wonder.
And if you didn't see it or you don't agree with that, that's your right too. I don't have any problem with anybody's opinion, except the ones who don't like it because of some
personal issue
that I'm not getting into.
Right.
But those people don't really care what they think. But they can go meet the Avenging Angel for all I care. I don't need people like that in my world. But if you just don't like it or you don't agree with it, that's your right. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, 100%.
People think I do. I'm like, I don't care what you think. It's your right, man. Enjoy the show the way you enjoy the show.
I had a person do the experiment where they watched the pilot and then Nacello and Cognettes, just those 3 episodes. And they basically, after each one, they called me up and said, after the first episode, Red's her dad. After Nacello, they said, WTF. And after the final, they said, oh, he's a mom. Just those 3 episodes.
My daughter did that. She didn't watch the show since I think, excuse me. She didn't watch the show since season 4 or 5 or something. She just watched the last 2 episodes because she wanted to see how that wrapped up. And that's the first thing she said to me.
Yep.
She's like, oh, so it's kind of, now she knew Troy's theory. She's like, so Troy was right? I thought you said Troy was wrong. I'm like, well, no, I was wrong. I can admit when I'm wrong. And
because we know I can't.
No, God knows Troy can't. Like if it would have been completely the other way, he'd never admit it. He'd still be on his. You'd be hearing about it every episode still. Put it that way. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Well, Angela Raven said, I'm surprised there hasn't been more discussion about Red kissing Vesco on the mouth. What a great moment. Vesco didn't seem surprised. Just, I needed that. New theory. They had a romantic relationship while Vesco was mentoring Red in the con man life. It could explain why Red can't seem to sever ties no matter how many times he's hoodwinked by Vesco. There's a deep fondness that he can't let go of, even while threatening to put him down like a 3-legged mule, and then later saying he'll break him out of prison if he gets bored.
I don't think that. I think it was just a fun little moment on the show.
Yeah.
I think Vesco's face pretty much said complete surprise, and Red's was just like, I just feel like kissing this dude. So, yeah, I don't take anything from that. I just thought it was a fun moment.
Yeah, I think it was more of like hey, buddy, and I hoodwinked you. Ha ha ha.
Exactly. Not everything I think is more to read into it, but that was just a fun moment, and I hope he comes back. I like Stacy Keach a lot, so
I do.
Can't wait to have him back in the show.
Incarcerated, not deceased.
Exactly. And I think that's it for this episode, right?
Absolutely.
Boom! All right. Well, that will conclude this discussion. So now is the time to recommend the Blacklist to your friend, your enemy, or your neighbor. And when you do, please also recommend and listen and subscribe to the Blacklist Exposed podcast. All the case profiles can be found at blacklistexposed.com and everywhere great podcasts can be found. And there will be another episode next week. And then I think we're off for a couple weeks for holidays until like December 9th or something like that.
I believe that is true. For more great Aaron and Troy hijinks, follow us on your favorite social media outlets. I'm at Troy Heinrichs. He's at Aaron Smirks. And together we are at the Blacklist GSM. And we'll just keep going on with season 9 as we move along. It's going to be hopefully another great episode next week.
Oh, your Patreon thing.
A Patreon thing.
Can I ask questions?
Oh, yeah. We'll probably end up recording that, I think, maybe right the last week of the month. So one more week to get questions in if you want to do the Ask Me Anything. If you're a Patreon subscriber, put those in your Patreon mailboxes and get those questions in.
Boom, boom. Ask anything you want.
Anything you want.
All right. Big thanks for listening. Don't forget to answer our profiling question. Who killed Acosta? If that is his real name.
The Cooper's neighbor.
I think it was Mrs. Cooper in the ballroom with Cooper's revolver.
All the way from Knives Out to Clue. That's how you end the show. Well,
and now I'm going to go home and sleep with my wife.
We'll see you next week, everybody. Until next time, I'm Agent Troy Heinrichs. That's at Troy Heinrichs on Twitter. And if you want to learn more about me, just visit, about.me/Troy Heinrichs.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson. You can hear me talking about movies and TV on the Hollywood Outsider podcast, as well as Remake This Movie Right. We are available at thehollywoodoutsiders.com or on Twitter at 5popcorn. Be sure to subscribe, download the app, submit your feedback, but most importantly, keep yourself off of the Blacklist.
The Blacklist Exposed is a Golden Spiral Media production. Find more of our great podcasts at goldenspiralmedia.com/podcasts.